All right, you guys. So we're doing something a little different. I'm gonna do for the film lovers Guide to the Galaxy an interview. This is the first time doing it. I'm glad I'm doing it with this great guy here. So joining us today, he is an up and coming indie movie director, writer, actor. He's done two award winning independent feature films. He also did a sketch for Adult Swim, and you can see him in a commercial with a very loud polo on the golf course with Stephen Curry. His recent short film, Eulogy, has been selected in several film festivals, including the Los Angeles Liftoff Festival and something that's near and dear to both our hearts, the San Diego Film Festival. He's a great guy. I'm glad that I can call him a friend, that he's here. Just to quote one of your lyrics, it's been so long since I've seen your face. Sergio, thanks for joining us today. So
That's such a deep cut.
it is a deep cut. So before we get started this, so I was just looking, because I was watching the movie, and I was going through your like YouTube list and stuff like that. I never got to see Parallelism. I just watched it about an hour ago today, and I cracked the fuck up.
Yeah.
you know, I felt bad for Herbert. Ryan was doing a really good job trying to solve the why don't people care.
Yeah, I was, I like the goal was to make the most Adult Swim thing ever.
Yeah.
And what's more Adult Swim than that? The trees essentially being the civil rights movement.
Right.
And you're just like, oh, obviously it was a little long. It could have been trimmed down a lot, but it's so stupid that it works.
I mean, yeah, I just watched it. I was just laughing. I was like, how did, for listeners out there, so, we met together at GameStop. That is kind of where we met. And, love of film kind of brought us together.
Hmm.
So I was there to kind of read his first script on his first feature way down. I got to be an extra and kind of saw him doing the filmmaking process. So for him to have two feature films and then now a short that's been selected to a couple of these film festivals, I was shocked that I have not seen that sketch. So it was a funny laugh that I got to see here. But let me ask you, because it's now been like 3 years that you've been in LA. What is the biggest difference between LA and San Diego that you've noticed so far?
Oh man. so so I guess I got to narrow it down. It's like one way that it's so specific is that everybody up here is so busy.
Mhm.
In terms of like I got to get here, I got to do this, all that stuff, which
Yeah.
is like I'm that type of person, so I fit that pretty well. And what I've really noticed, and especially just interacting with people up here and hearing how they talk about San Diego,
Mhm.
is that San Diego is very much like, as far as they're concerned, it's like a slow down town in the middle of the country. Like it's so slow. Uh, it's and like I understand that too, because whenever I go home, it's like, wow, this is like country folk that we are out here. We have our own Southern California drawl. We
Right.
drive so slow. we just we all wear sandals. I remember talking to someone, and you're like, "San Diego, is it true that you all just wear flip flops?" I'll say, "Yes, it is true. It is true." So that's the one thing, and the other one is, I would say, is like everybody talks up here. They just
Yeah.
talk a storm of like, "Oh yeah, yeah, baby, I'm doing this, I'm doing that," whether it's true or not. There's so much of that. Whereas San Diego's like, "Hey man, I don't know, let's hang out." What?
I live in Orange County now, but I worked in two LA stores for the past year as I got relocated, one in Glendale. But recently I was working in Century City. And let me tell you, I always thought Clueless was a very great, teenage coming of age comedy. I feel like it's a documentary because some of those kids that come into my store and talk, I'm just like,
It's
holy,
unbelievable.
I'm like, holy
It's
shit, you guys are really from Beverly Hills. This is nuts.
mhm. It's like I hate to stereotype, but there is a stereotype up here when it comes to the teenage kids up here. It's so incredible, and this will sound super derogatory, but like when at my other job, a survival job, making coffee, it's just we'll see somebody walk in, we're like, it's an almond vanilla latte, guarantee it, and then that's exactly what they order.
So I do have to ask, since you've lived in LA for a while now, which which city makes the better tacos?
I Without a doubt, San Diego.
Yeah.
It's the main thing is that LA, what they like to do is they like to season their tacos with like onions, heavy onions.
Mhm.
And then the thing is, San Diego likes to season it with beer and lime, and that's so different, from
Yes.
up here. Everyone's here. Oh, you gotta try this. You gotta try that. And then I try it. I'm just like, this is not good. And don't
Right?
even get me started on their burritos. That's just a bunch of lies.
uh yeah, you know, Orange County has made me really, really miss food from San Diego,
Hmm.
specifically the taco stands. And it's not like, with us, yeah, there's food trucks here, but like some of the stuff that's there, even the stuff that is very commercialized in San Diego, like Lucha Libre, it's still
Yeah.
better than most of the stuff that you probably would get in
Oh
LA.
yeah,
And you know what I'm saying? So,
100%.
yeah.
Um, there is one place. There is legitimately one place up here that makes tacos exactly like San Diego, and the
Hmm.
reason is because the guy's from TJ, and that's
Nah,
why. But it's the only spot that I've found that has it taste exactly like it. It's called Tacos 1986.
okay.
It's like a small little chain, and yeah, it's almost one for one. And when I found it, I was like, I was crying. I was like, I found it. This is the one. Because being up here for years, I'm just trying all the taco places, and they all just failed.
Let's talk about your new short that you have out here, and like I said, is playing these film festivals. Eulogy. Tell me a little bit about it.
A funny story. So I actually had a different short locked and loaded,
Okay.
written, right? Like I have the storyboarding right next to me. I had the cast, I had the locations, I had the costumes, I had everything ready,
Hmm.
and then the pandemic hit. And the problem with that short was that it had a bigger cast.
Oh, okay.
It was definitely something that would have hit differently, and it was definitely something that I've never done before. But then this happened, so it's like, okay, well, I need to scrap that short until it's ready to make that. And so I'm going to start from scratch, and you can actually find this kind of sort of video documentary of me talking my way through it. But I make a new film from scratch, and I make a diary of it on my YouTube, and I just basically talk my process through it as I'm like, all right, what am I going to do? And so you can actually kind of live see me think about Eulogy and how to make it as I'm making it. And so the summation of the entire thing of Eulogy was I needed to make something new. I needed something that was safe to make with as little people as possible.
Hmm.
So that gave me the setting, an apartment. How many people? One person. All right. After that, I had to decide what is it going to be about, and I knew that as soon as the pandemic hit, there was going to be a million things about people using Zoom to talk, people uh, making movies about the pandemic, and I really immediately didn't like that idea. And so my choice was to make something emotionally connected to the idea of what we were going through in this pandemic, and the idea of loss and trying to move forward during a life changing event. And that's kind of where I came up with the story of someone who's trying to write a eulogy for his twin brother. Um, and it's a very small but very dynamic film, and I tried to make sure of that because since it was going to take place in one setting, the mistake that I think most filmmakers would be is like, okay, so we're just going to watch him do stuff, like he's going to sit down, he's going to do whatever. But my goal was to make this apartment feel like seven settings or six settings,
Yeah.
and just make it feel bigger than it was. And and my goal really was like, I forgot that it took place in one apartment,
Yeah.
uh I definitely accomplished that.
Yeah. I will say, out of the three films, I think in terms of cinematography, this is kind of like one of the cleanest I've seen, and and I'm shocked because it's like I said, it's in one location
Hmm.
outside until you go run into the wind. Yeah, right.
A run,
Um,
Forrest, run.
Sorry. But I truly enjoyed it. So, a couple questions about that. One, how did you get the two photos together? Did you CGI that? Because when I saw it, because we as you watch through the film, you realize that they're twin brothers. But I thought it was funny because I'm like, oh, hey, look, it looks like it's the same photo of these two together. How did he do that? With one mustache or the other.
I have to give credit to two people. One of them is Brandon Hanskins, and another one, her name is Hannah. She would want me to keep her last name private because she's just a private type of person.
Hmm.
But both of them are graphic designers, and both of them had a pass at it. And I had this old photo of me, and then I took a new photo of me with shaven, shorter hair, everything. And they specifically gave me instructions of how to take that photo so that I could get the shadows as close as possible. So then when they went through it, they could bring it together. And it's the first time I've used any VFX sort of where they like put something together, and I was really impressed. I was like, oh man, you guys are good. Hannah is actually she makes posters for films and television, and
Oh, nice.
so like she made posters for Mulan, the movies, for that show them, a
Okay,
bunch
yeah.
of stuff. And so this is what she does for a living. So does Brandon Henskins. And so like these guys have an eye of like how to instruct me to do something so to make it easier for them, and that's how it happened.
Usually when you do features or shorts like these, you always have a couple movies backlogged in your pocket that kind
Hmm.
of inspire you, things like that. What kind of movies were you watching that kind of help you make this movie?
Uh, Swiss Army Man was one.
Okay.
Swiss Army Man was one. I always like one of my films that I keep in the back of my brain is Short Term 12.
Yeah.
Um, it's there's a few movies that I rewatch every time I make a film, and one of them is Blue Valentine. So those are kind of the few, but mainly I would say the Swiss Army Man was probably the main one that kind of gravitated towards in terms of like not necessarily tone, but like the way it felt of someone being a little more innocent going through something that's tough. And that's kind of where I kind of circled that. And especially since that film had two people and
Mhm.
it was not a lot of people in it. I that kind of helped me figure out like the playfulness involved of imagination, um, in order to like get this character to be able to do things that were dynamic in kind of a stagnant setting.
This is just a side note, you guys. If you guys have not seen Short Term 12, you guys need to. You could finish this interview after this. It's one of the me and Sergio watch. From then on, we've been watching a lot of movies, but like this movie, not only is it like I don't know if it's his directorial debut. It might be his second movie of
It's his
Destin
second
Daniel
movie.
Cretton, second movie.
Yeah,
But now people know him as the director of Shang-Chi, right? And
yeah.
it's great that he's got that. It got Brie Larson to where I think like where she is now.
Hmm.
Caitlin Dever was in it. Rami Malek was in there, but Lakeith Stanfield, who is probably one of the best character actors that if you saw his face, you're like, oh, I know who he is, and you realize he's been in a lot of movies. Like this movie had a lot of people, but this one is specifically for Chloe because I remember watching that movie, and there's that moment where Lakeith Stanfield was rapping.
Oh my god.
Such a good rap. I mean, and it's like it's so emotional and it's powerful. But we watched it with our friend Chloe, and we watched it at an ArcLight in La Jolla, which R.I.P. ArcLight. I wish
R.I.P.
it was still there. I remember they have kettle corn in a tub, and she
What am
wanted
I
to
gonna
get
forget?
the kettle corn. And as he is rapping, bam, it flies off. And I'm like, oh no, this is the wrong time to make any noise within this movie. It's still one of the best memories I have of that movie to this day. Just because it's like, I
Mhm.
had the cognizant, the mind to know that this is a very important scene,
Yeah.
but the shit that just happened was really funny during this time, right? So,
Yeah,
um,
that scene is so pivotal to me as a filmmaker. Like there's that scene, and then his first film, I Am Not a Hipster.
mhm,
That one, there's a scene where the main character has a breakdown, and they have and that scene and the rap scene have are very similar shots, and those shots specifically are the ones that I don't know what exactly, but they were the shots that like ignited this idea of like how to capture sadness. And so like I don't know, it just like connected into me in a way where it's like in order to capture sadness, you have to be unflinching. You have to like go in further. And
Yeah.
so like in my films, you can every once in a while you'll be able to spot that type of shot because like I don't know, when characters go through things, I think a lot of the mistake a lot of films do is that they just hang back so you can see the big picture, but it's
Hmm.
like when someone's going through something, you have to go further in so
Yeah.
that you go with it. And so that's why that scene with Lakeith Stanfield is so incredible because the shot just moves in slowly until it's nothing but his face as he's pouring his heart out, and it's so incredible.
Speaking of music, I know, with Way Down, it is a musical, whether people will classify or not. That's a lot of original songs in there. Same thing with Silhouette, but this one, with being short and being not only kind of a character piece, music is very important, especially the
Hmm.
score.
Oh yeah.
How did you come up with the score, and what was your overall process or thought when building the film out?
Yeah, so honestly, the main thing, one of the main things that I kind of knew earlier on in the film was the ending.
Hmm.
I knew the ending was going to be the running scene, and it's this scene where he's running as fast as he can after he's gone through this emotional journey, and this is kind of a way where he connects to his brother because the entire time there's like this kind of theme of speed, running, and movement, and then at the end he's just sprinting forward. And I knew that had needed to be sort of like I mean, it's going to sound corny, but like a spiritual moment,
Hmm.
of like of connection with beyond himself, and so like there's this song from Explosions in the Sky that kind of gave me that initial spark of feeling. Not that it needed to sound like that, but whenever I write films, I make playlists of not what the movie will have in it, but
Hmm.
what it feels like, its emotional identity, and that's kind of where I start from. And then as soon as I can vocalize it, when the people who have been amazing enough to work with me in terms of composers, um, or let me rephrase that. People that uh, I've been able lucky enough to work with them is what I meant to say. They I kind of just describe the feeling of each of these scenes. Like I kind of narrow down where music could be,
Hmm.
and then I suggest of like, all right, this is what it's going to feel like. I try not to give them too much direction in terms of like I need it to sound like this song. Like if they ask for it, I'll give it to them. But what I try to do is I want them to kind of be on their own. But try to specifically nail down the emotional beats of well, what the song gives you. So it's I tried to verbally as best I could write that what it felt like to run past emotions and forward, and he did an amazing job, and it's so wonderfully restrained but purposeful. And so once we got these rough drafts of each of these tracks down, then I would give him notes of like, okay, these are some of the sounds that I think are making me feel something as it's happening, and I think that's where you need to hit on a bit more, or this is where you could do something more with the sound. And I'm very detailed in terms of like sounds.
Yeah.
That's why Way Down was my first film, which was a musical, because like like I'm kind of one of those ASMR people where like sounds intrigue me, and it's
Yeah.
just the sounds of metal touching whatever and the little intricacies of music. I wanted to pay attention to that in the first film, and so every film moving on, I've kind of tried to do that in terms of the music involved. And so this one, like I knew was going to be super specific, super important, since I needed to bring the energy with the person watching.
Like we talked about earlier, this movie is selected in a couple film festivals. Like I said, the LA Liftoff Festival. But one that's near and dear to us is the San Diego Film Festival. This is your third time, three movies, right? Because I know, was it Way Down that was
Mhm.
there, and then
Way Down was at the Way Down and Silhouette were at the San Diego Latino Film
the San Diego
Festival,
Festival. You're right. So
and
this year
and
is like true San Diego just film festival itself.
yeah, yeah,
Um, you know, you're right. It's not TIFF, it's not Sundance, but this is actually really cool for someone that it was like born and raised in San Diego to kind of
It's a
get
hard
there.
one to get into, even
Yeah,
if you're not from here.
correct. Yeah. So how did that make you feel when you first found out that, oh shit, I got selected, the movie got selected to this film festival?
I legit didn't believe it. I was
Yeah.
like, "Nah, that's not true." Until like later on, and then I like really didn't hit me until they like like shared my Instagram story. I was like, "Oh fuck, this is real. This is
Yeah.
I'm actually in their festival, and they know and they care about it." So that was really heartwarming, and I kind of teared up a little bit just because it's like a little goal. Like, I've gone into other film festivals and for other films, and I've traveled to them, and they're fun, but like certain ones mean something to you,
Mhm.
and whether or not it means something to anyone else, it means something to me, and to get to this one specifically. And so it was just like, if I'm going to be real for a second, I didn't think Eulogy would get into anywhere because it's 24 minutes. For a short film, that's too long because with programming, you want to try to fit as many films into a thing. But I wasn't thinking about that. I just wanted to make like the goal was to make this type of storytelling of a feature film in 24 minutes if I can do that. And I
Yeah.
think I did that, but still it's 24 minutes. And like I'm lucky enough where I've associated with a lot of important people in Hollywood, and they've seen it and they agree that it's very good, but they've also told me the realities of like it's a little long though.
Mhm.
Like like I wouldn't cut anything, but you know this is for next time, is try to make something in this type of time frame, but this is like too good, you can't cut it, you got to
Mhm.
just, this is what it is. And I was like, I know. I know, and it sucks. you know
Good thing you didn't have to, because I watched it and I was all like, I thought to myself, I was like, wow, most short films are anywhere from 8, 12, 15 minutes because they're showing it in succession. But I was like looking, I was like, the fact that you got into it and they're gonna put it in there is really cool, because one of the movies where it's like there's really not any fat, it's just all substance that is there. So it's really
yeah,
hard to try to cut something that, you know,
yeah.
not only musically you would have to make work, but then also it kind of loses the connective tissue between it all. So you're
Mhm.
right.
Yeah, I have to like the I have to credit someone. I'm not going to say their name because it would sound like I was name dropping or something. But like this guy helped me by like he took a lot of time to like watch it and gave me notes
Mhm.
on it, and even he was just like, this is pretty solid, this is really good. And the thing that he helped me the most was the editing specifically of the ending, because before what it used to be was Wes, the character was saying his eulogy into his phone, and you're just watching that, and then it cuts to him getting ready to run and then running, and then he's just like, like those, like it's best to put them together because of the way that the words connect with those actions, and
Mhm.
that will tighten it, and that shaved like 5 minutes, and then like it made it so much more powerful
Yeah.
because like seeing him do it and hearing his words of hope, and then going back to the beginning and doing the same to the beginning, and even a little in the middle, it's like, man, like his words of advice were so helpful, and and then I went back and watched one of his more recent films that came out not too long ago, and
Mhm.
I was just like, oh, yep, that's your style, and you made me do your style a little bit.
Cool. Yeah. So, we are a film podcast. So what I always gotta ask everyone here is like, what are some of your favorite movies that you've seen this past year?
Pig, baby, Pig is so good.
Yeah, one of I still have to get to watch that. That's one of the movies I have yet to see. But Jared, our other co-host here, he saw it and he's all like, excellent. He said it was great.
It's so good. It's so not like what young shitheads are expecting it to be.
Okay.
Young
Yeah.
shitheads are expecting it to be like, oh, that's like it's like a stupid John Wick but with a pig.
Yeah.
And the trailers kind of could make you think that, but it doesn't. It's like, it's elusive enough where it couldn't be, but it's totally not that. And it's just the most heartfelt story, and it's very touching. And um, I don't cry a lot, but I was bawling at one point at this movie. I was like, "You gotta be fucking kidding me! I'm crying at this movie right now."
Right.
But it's so good. I loved that movie. And then the other at the other end of the spectrum, I loved for very different reasons. Is a movie called *Malignant*.
Oh, so that is our next episode. Let me tell you something. I feel like I am so there's three of us, right? And I feel like I am more on the end with you than the other guys. I think
Oh
we're
man,
both going to use the same word. It's bonkers, but for me, it's bonkers in a good way. Like I'm
it is. Oh
like
god.
James Wan is a horror director, and he is so good at it. He makes us invested because I get why this is a movie that you either love it or hate it. I don't think there's a middle
Yes.
ground with this movie.
I've seen it twice, and I took my friend to see it because I wanted to watch him watch it.
Yeah.
And he's another guy who loves film, and so I it's like this is it's like I don't want to give too much about it away. It's just like you like after you watch it, you're like, he has to have known what he did, right? This was all intentional, because not, just disregarding the ending, there's a lot
Hmm.
of questionable things he does, like from the get go, in
Hmm.
terms of acting, editing, sound,
Hmm.
and you're just like, what is happening? But you're having such a good time.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't really want to say too much about it. What I do say is that he probably could get arrested for that trailer, because it's not at all what the movie
No,
is.
it is not. And I think that is what I loved about it because I'm all like, I always tell people, yes, trailers sell us one thing, but within the first 5 minutes of the movie, you kind of know what that movie is,
Oh,
and you
yeah.
have to readjust what you're watching at that point.
You
And
know,
so,
you know what it was like? It was like when you and I went to go see Killer Joe. It's
yeah,
like, everyone's watching it, and it's tense, and then immediately you see it, like a giant bush, a vagina, and I start laughing. And I think we were the first
what?
two to really start laughing,
Yeah,
and then the crowd starts joining in, and then everybody starts laughing, to the point that when we got into the elevator to leave, there's this couple who just could not stop laughing with us,
yeah,
and that's what *Malignant* was kind of like.
yes. Oh man. So there's a couple other movies. I don't know if you've seen. Have you seen The Green Knight?
Yes, I
Yeah.
have.
What did you think of that?
I think I think David Lowery is too smart for me. I think I'm still processing it. What I do know is that it's a very well executed film,
Mhm.
and I love the simplicity of the storytelling, specifically just like what it's building up to and how simple it is at the end. But boy, is he so smart! I'm so dumb.
Oh yeah, no, I had to Green Knight, Sir Gawain. These are things that I read in high school, so I had to like re-remember it. I'm like, okay, Google, you got to tell me. Like, I just have to remember a couple things. But I watched that movie twice. It is to me the best movie I've seen all year. But that's just because I haven't seen Pig yet, so we'll see when it comes to that point. Dave Patel so good in that movie,
He's very good.
and
Yeah. As a person of color, I look up to him, of just like being able to do this type of stuff in the mainstream. I mean, can you say this is mainstream? I don't know if it's
I
mainstream,
don't
but it's
know. It's not.
mainstream to
It's
me.
not. It's yeah. It's mainstream to indie movie watchers because A24 is like the Disney of indie movies when it comes to releasing stuff, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that the score was so good. Someone aptly put it. I'm all like, if Blade Runner 20, this is Blade Runner for medieval people. I'm all like, you know what?
Yeah.
It's not that wrong because like visually stunning movie.
It's
Like
so gorgeous. I mean, like, it's such a weird movie, and the way the visuals complement the weirdness of that movie is so wonderful. Like, just there's a scene where he goes underwater. That's such a beautiful segment, and yeah, it's really hard to put in the words quite how much of an accomplishment that film is, just to
yeah.
even exist, you know?
Mhm.
And that's why I love it. I feel like if I were to watch it again, I'd probably love it. But right now, I really, really like it. But I also think he's too smart.
um, you know, like I said, we like musicals. Did you get to see In the Heights?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, God. I loved it so much.
So that movie before Green Knight came out, that was my favorite movie of the year so far.
Mm.
Anthony Ramos is really good, and I we're spoiled if you guys watch Hamilton, last year. But man, this movie was like, I'm like, oh, these numbers are really good, and it's like moving pretty fast pace, and it's like, uh, I just absolutely love that movie that came out this year.
Yeah, that movie's so good. I really like. I wish it could have had more of that heightened surrealism in it throughout it, because whenever it happened, the movie became so much better and more
Yeah.
magical. I think the first time it really gets weird is in the salon,
Mhm.
where the heads start
Heads are
moving and
start
the
moving. Yeah,
mannequins.
yeah,
Yeah, I was like, I love this, and then it starts to progressively get more energy and weirder as it goes on, and by the time it crescendos to dancing on the side of a building, and it's like, yeah, man, this is where it should be. It's such
yeah.
a modern callback to how musicals used to be, but in a more modern sense, and I loved it because of that.
You have amazing favorite scene that's in that movie, or God,
I mean, the
I lost the
grandma
word.
song.
The grandma
The
song.
grandma
Yeah.
song. That's a standout. I mean, there's so many standout moments, but because Anthony Ramos is so charming in it,
Hmm.
but that's like I felt like that was like the peak when the grandma starts singing in the subways and going through her life. That was
Yeah.
emotionally high, entertainingly high, and the song was just great. And by the time it ends, where it's dead quiet and she's walking,
Hmm.
such a wonderful end to that little segment, and it's just so good.
Yeah, I love that. My favorite they talked about was like the 96,000 whole set piece was so well realized as
That's a
well
good
because
one. Yeah.
but yeah, they did a really good job, and it made me believe that like if or when they decide to adapt Hamilton into an actual movie, it'll be good. I just don't
It's gonna be
know if
tough.
Lin Manuel Miranda would be Hamilton
It's
at that point.
it's not gonna be him.
Yeah.
And here's, it's like, okay, so I saw Hamilton in person not too long ago,
Mhm.
and obviously you got to give them credit because like this first time back from the pandemic, and they're
Yeah.
doing it in person. And like so like I'd say like they needed to catch their footing in the first couple songs, but then they started smashing out of the park. But
Mhm.
even then, it's just like the people in the original cast like hit it so hard
Yeah.
that anyone else who has to do these roles have to hit it so insanely hard to match what they did. And like these guys did it very good. It was very
Yeah.
fun, and they did so good.
Yeah. It's really funny because, like, to me, it's like I think there's people out there that can do Lin Manuel Miranda's stuff, like Anthony Ramos did when he took over for In the Heights. I'm afraid
Well,
for someone to follow. Yeah.
and he Lin Manuel never played that role when it was in Broadway.
Oh, he
Lin
just only
Manuel
did. Okay.
that
I,
he did Lin Manuel did the same role he did in Broadway.
okay. Got it. So yeah, I think the hardest thing for me to kind of see is not so much the Hamilton character, is who has to follow up Leslie Odom Jr. as like Burr, because it's like he to me is the one that makes everything click, and then someone has to rap like David Diggs. I mean, it's gonna be a little bit hard there.
That's tough. Like the guy who we saw, he did a pretty good job, but there's just
Mhm.
that next level you need to
Yeah,
get to, And like I said, he did as far as like amazing performances, yeah. But David, man, ugh, God,
it's
it's
so good.
unfair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna end the interview like this here. So we've been playing a game, Cinephile card game. Have you heard of that game?
Uh, uh, uh maybe say it.
Maybe.
Say it if I haven't.
Yeah, yeah. So Cinephile, a card game, is a game that is that my other co-host Joe bought for me, and it was pretty cool because it has all the cards and different movies that are on each card, and you could play stuff like kind of like head on, kind of guess it. Uh, or games like filmography, you pick an actress or an actor and you bounce back and forth until someone can't name their movie anymore, stuff like that. So, what we normally do is we do 6 degrees of separation. All that really is you got to connect one actor to the other in as less movies as possible. So, what I'm going to do here, Sergio, I'm going to pick these two cards. And with the magic of editing, they don't know how long you're going to take anyway.
I have no. I'm so bad with names, but let's do this.
Okay, I want you to connect Colin Farrell. These are pretty cool cards, though. So,
Colin Farrell. Ah, it's great.
Colin Farrell to Kerry Washington.
Colin Farrell with Kerry Washington. All right, Colin Farrell. Kerry Washington was in. Oh, God, I'm so tempted to just grab my phone and just like, all right, what movies? Not match them, but just know what film she was in to like see where I could connect to.
Mm.
Kerry Washington was in. I'm blanking right now. Let me. I'm just gonna look up her. I won't see who's in her cast. All right, just her because she. I feel like she's harder than everybody else. Than Colin Farrell. Let's see. And like I said, I won't look up casts. Okay, listen, jerk. I'm not gonna do it. All right. Do. Washington. This is so pathetic, right? Okay. Kerry Washington. Only looking at hers and not looking at anything else. All right, not looking at cast, not looking at thing. I just need to be reminded what movie she's been in. Okay. All right. Oh, okay. There we go.
Okay.
See, I, if I would have just known a little bit. Okay, Kerry Washington is in Django
Hmm.
with Jamie Foxx, and Jamie Foxx is in Miami Vice with him.
That is my connection too. See, you did it too. There we go.
And see, and I did not look anything else. Just her. You cannot believe me if you don't want to. I'm crying.
All right. So, Sergio, tell the people where they can find you, watch your movie, anything you want to plug here.
Yeah, so you guys can go on to the Liftoff Network. You can get festival tickets for $15. Gets you access to all the films there, including mine, Eulogy. That'll be up for the next 2 weeks, and then, but even after it's down, the San Diego Latino, or excuse me, the San Diego International Film Festival will be on from October 14th to the 24th, and they will be playing a lot of the shorts online, including my own. And then you can go to their website and buy online passes, so you can watch the virtual festival and see Eulogy there. Or whatever. Just send me a message on Instagram. I'll give you the movie. You can watch it. It'll be in secret, and you'll like it. But yeah, stay tuned. I've got a few films coming out next year, so I'll be dead because I'll be writing them so and making them so many. Anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it. Oso Sergio is my Instagram. Yes, Sergio is my Twitter, and that's pretty much it.
Follow him on Instagram, follow him on IG. If you have a chance, check out the movies that he has out. Trust me, it'll be worth it. Sergio, thanks again for joining, chatting with me again. It's great. It's been a long time. So glad that I got to see you to do this here today.
Oh, thank you. It's been so good to be here and talk to you. I miss you so much. This is great. This is so good.
Yes.